Welcome, everybody. My name is Justin. I'm a Vice President of Sales with Classworks. Today, Kellen Huntley is going to be with me as well. She's going to be managing chat. So if you've got any questions or anything you'd like me to follow up on, please feel free to reach out. So this is the last session in what has been a fantastic week with our virtual summit. You've made it to session number 10. And unfortunately, your prize is that you get to spend it with me. But this is also a really interesting one because this is going to be kind of a blended session. A lot of what we do with our virtual sessions is professional development for our existing customers and the districts that we partner with. But this one is a little bit more open. But that doesn't mean for those who are partnering with us right now that there isn't a lot to gain here. I always say we're part of a relationship with districts, and same as any relationship, one of the hardest things to do is as you two grow, that you're growing parallel to each other. And so there might be a district out here who's watching this, who's used this for a while, but they've used this in one way, or they're not familiar with a lot of the new things and upgrades and glow ups that we've done in Classworks. So it'd be really great for you to look at this and see so that you've got an idea of, I need to reach out to Classworks or to my curriculum instruction specialist, because that's something that we need to be doing, or that we need to be using this in a different way. So hopefully I'll be able to strike that balance and we'll have a really good time and everybody will learn something. I'm going to talk to those people who aren't familiar with Classworks and what we do as we start this session and really talk about kind of what is Classworks and how to use it to simplify your MTSS process. So if you're unfamiliar with Classworks, really one of the big things is, Classworks strongly believes in challenging the status quo and being a leader in the continual evolution and execution of the intervention process. We really accomplish this by being cutting edge experts when it comes to the intervention process. We partner with a lot of elite national and local level organizations. We're really passionate about educating and equipping districts with actionable best practices that can increase effectiveness and decrease teacher burden so that we can drive sustainable growth by addressing the whole student and really making an impact. And because of that, and we feel that we deliver a program that offers districts all the tools that they need to positively impact students, address learning loss, and build a systemic and quantitative tiered system of support. So really, when you're looking at what Classworks is, and if you're unfamiliar with it, there's a lot that's in here. And we're really a comprehensive solution that offers a lot of the tools that you need to build your process the right way. Because an MTS framework includes assessment, includes instruction, progress monitoring, social and emotional aspects, and a lot of data so that you can take what you're doing and make it actionable. And we do all of this addressing ELA, reading, and math as well. And we work with all districts of all sizes to help work with this out. Classworks has been around for almost 20 years. We are a very trusted solution. We, once I said, partner with a lot of different organizations. And so you'll hear me talking about the National Center on Intensive Intervention. We've been case endorsed with the Council of Administrators of Special Education. And really, when you're looking at Classworks, our intervention is evidence-based and meets all the requirements of ESSA. Now, one of the growing points, one of the glow-ups that Classworks has done itself as a company is over that 20 years, we've predominantly been within the Southeast. And as our product has grown and enhanced, we've started to expand where our reach is as well. And right now, we're extremely happy. We're in 24 states. We're in over 1,000 schools. But what that means for the people that are on this call is we get to work with a lot of districts at every level of the intervention process. We get to learn best practices. We get to learn what works and doesn't and try to impart those on the districts that we do partner with. And we start this off by really focusing in on supporting those most vulnerable students so that we can make a big impact with them. So when we're working with these students, really one of the big things is making sure that testing is accurate and diagnoses their needs accordingly, individualized instruction, which is really important to close those learning gaps, but especially meeting them where they're ready to learn so that we can close them effectively. And then resources that help support that. And so we're going to talk about this MTSS process. So I'm going to start off by talking about our universal screener, but I will say that, though we have a fantastic universal screener that has received the highest ratings for validity from the National Center on Intensive Intervention, not only for validity, but also reliability, we also partner with a lot of other assessments as well. So you do have the ability in Classworks, if you're saying, you know what, last thing I want to do is switch my screener, or I want to add more testing on. Well, we partner with a lot of great organizations like Renaissance Star, NWEA MAP. We take iReady data, we put it to use, NC Check-In, Texas Star. So you have that ability, but I'm going to talk about what I start off by really looking at what we do and how we make that work. So when we're talking about that intervention process and building up your MTSS program, the first step is accurately diagnosing where your children are. Our universal screener is given 3 times a year. It's vertically scaled, nationally normed. Our screener is for both English language arts and for math, and goes from grades K through 10. One of the biggest impacts of this is that it will percentile rank your students so that you can help identify those who may need additional support in tier 2 or tier 3. But the other awesome part about it as well is the predictive validity that comes with it. If you end up going on our website and looking around, you'll see some of our great linking studies for like Georgia milestones, or with Texas Star, or with Mississippi MAP as well. So there's a great use of this. So once we've screened those students and we've really helped identify where they're at, well, that is where things start getting more complicated in the MTSS world. And that's where Classworks really helps come in to help solidify that and to simplify. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in. Now I'm in Classworks. This is what we look like. And I'm going to go first into this Insights tab, because having that benchmark is great, but really being able to use it. Our insights are built through a partnership with Amazon QuickSight. This gives you real-time data into what is happening inside of your district. This allows me to look at this, whether I'm doing this in multiple subjects, but it's really helpful to be able to visualize where those students fall when they're being percentile ranked and identified for maybe needing additional support. Also, since we work with so many other companies, we're able to link up with your rostering system so that all of your subpopulations are automatically loaded into Classworks as well. So not only can I see how my students are doing as a whole, but I can really break this down so that I can make sure that I'm doing reporting that's going to match up to what my state is looking for as well. And so now that we've been able to do this, I'm once again able to group and look in multiple different ways. So now let's really start saying, okay, let's put this to work. And I'm going to start off with one of the most difficult portions of the MTSS process, and that is progress monitoring. So I'm going to go to my progress monitoring tab. So this section, progress monitoring, is so important because it takes a lot of these subjective aspects of an intervention process out. To be able to quantify how a student is developing and growing is extremely important. To be able to do that in a way that is going to be easy, but also allow consistent results is one of the key aspects for really tracking to see either how those students are developing and moving away from that process, or getting them ready if we do need to refer them to special education. So as a teacher, when I'm looking in here for my progress monitoring, I'm in my class here, or actually I'm in one of my custom groups, I can easily see how all of my students have performed. So once again, that visualization of where they are. Now, if I say, you know what, I want to start to progress monitor one of my students, I can easily look and see how that they have performed. And I'm going to start Keisha here. Now, I can do this in one or two ways. I can do this either as a curriculum sampling, so that I'm looking how they're performing overall on grade level. With our universal screener, it will go ahead and give you a recommendation. If you're using another one, if you're using NWA Map, you can take the recommendation that they have, or you can choose where you feel that they're going to want to be placed. Or if I don't want to do this by grade level, I can do this as a skill specific. So this becomes really important when I know, there's some really big there's some specific deficits that I need to be able to attack. In this case, if I'm looking here for my, I can do this in reading or grammar. I'm going to drop out real quick, and I'm going to do this for mathematics as well, so that you can see the skills that we have and the ability to be able to drill down. And then once I press start, the student is going to receive a probe each week for the next 12 weeks. The reporting, I'm going to start off with the end in mind and then come back in from a student perspective. Looks like this. So imagine if we take what is a very labor intensive, cumbersome process, and it's having a system that's automatically probing that student each week so that we're not having to do big testing again and again, automatically graph that out for them. I can also dig down, and the ability to be able to see how we're doing, by date, by time, score, but place notes in here as well for any outliers. I can also see a rich item analysis into what they're doing as well. And this becomes really cool, because now I'm going to go back in here into one of my students. I'm going to go, let's take a look at Audrey here. So now I'm going to take a look at Audrey as a whole. I'm going to go into her progress monitoring, and I track to see where she's doing. But if I really want even more in-depth knowledge, I'm going to click here for this item analysis. I can see exactly what the question was, what the correct answer was, and how we missed it. So having the ability to do this is perfect for SST meetings, for IEP goals as well. And the ability to have this at your fingertips is phenomenal. One of the easiest ways to make a big impact with your students and with your MTSS process. So while we are doing this and we're looking at that progress monitoring, once again, one of the most important aspects of an MTSS process, one of the most cumbersome, we also need to really start to look to see how we're going to address where that student's learning gaps are so that we can work with them. We do this with our individualized learning. So when we've taken our screener, or if we've pulled in NWA, I can look in here and see exactly where their test results are. And based off of those screener results, Classworks is going to create an individualized path for each one of your students. That is, and when I say individualized, that is a very overused word. There's a lot of different programs that say, oh, individualized instruction, but they'll either do that to put a student in a placement point to build them off, or they're putting them in small groups. Each one of these learning progressions is 100% individually unique to the student based off of their screener result. So taking data and making informed instruction for them. For each one of these hyperlinks that you're looking at, I'm going to drill in here. There's some awesome stuff. So one, with each one of these skills, one of the main reasons we've been case endorsed for years is how we address that skill. Everything begins with direct instruction that works at your own student's pace. We keep track of time on task, but then there's activities, there's games. We are going to look at that skill from a variety of different ways and make that student use it so that we can find which way is going to make the most impact with them to help close that gap and to double check that they have. Each one of these is going to end with a quick formative assessment so that we can gain level of mastery. One, it's really easy for me to see, why is this in the student's learning progression? Was it assigned by a teacher? Was it added because of our universal screener? Oh, our progress monitoring identifies where your students are struggling, and it adds more instruction into their learning path. So this is always adapting based off of the most current information so that we can truly individualize and as close to real time as possible with your students to get them where they need to be. And everything that's in here is aligned to your state standards. We're a Georgia-based company, so what you're seeing in here are Georgia standards so that I know exactly where my student's working. So we've tested them. We've given individualized instruction. We've given progress monitoring to further quantify it. But one of the biggest things that we have worked with districts all across the nation is the evolution of the intervention process. It may have started off as RTI, was very focused in on the academic side. We've moved into MTSS, multi-tiered systems of support. And now one of the biggest evolutions is understanding how we have to look at the entire child. And we do that with social and emotional learning and PBIS. So Classworks, wanting to make sure that we are doing the best and giving you the tools that you need, helps drive that home as well. We start off, there is a built-in SE survey inside of Classworks. So you can do your screener. Once that's completed, now I can do my SE survey. This was built in conjunction with Castle, with the University of Illinois, Chicago and Washoe County. It's a 40-question quiz so that I can see exactly where my students are and where they're performing. I can do this 3 times a year as well. Same as when we looked at our screener. It's great to have this information, to know where my students are going to be, but how do we make it actionable? Well, we do this in a couple of ways. So one, we make sure that we're looking at that student and working with them to get real-time information. So one of the big aspects of that is when we look at CASEL core competencies, self-awareness and self-management. So the ability to prep our students by giving them real-time feedback on what they're doing, how they're performing in a multitude of ways. This is great because every teacher can come in here and start and have that conversation with the student. This can be printed up. So when it comes time for those IEP meetings or SST meetings, that you have all of this information. And I'm going to go over this little badges tab because our students, you're going to earn badges for time on task and scores. But this little hyperlink here for the student score, this takes me to the student dashboard. So each student has a specific URL. This can be shared not only with your students, but with the parents as well. So they can see how they're working and performing. And those observations that we had, once again, the student is a part of this as well. Then we're going to take it one step further and really make this actionable. And this is with our goal tracking. And for this one, I'm going to show this from a teacher perspective so that you can see how powerful it is. So when I go in as a teacher and I want to pull up my class or my special group here, one, I can easily see, once again, visualize where my students are. Oh man, I've got someone in red here. What's going on? You know what? Let me sort this out specifically by there because that's the first one I need to address. So I can look to see, because when we look at our goal tracker, these are goals that either your student can create or the teacher can create goals for the entire class. And what ends up happening is they would routinely come in and they are going to build out those goals built on the SMART goal method. They are going to check in to see how are they and say, you know what, this is how I'm feeling toward achieving my goal. This is where I want to be. This is what I'm trying to do. I have access to all their previous goals in here as well. And they're going to leave little emoticons saying, you know what, I feel good, I feel bad. This was what happened this week that allowed me to change this. And then once a teacher can take this and be actionable. So not only am I pulling in academics from our universal screener, but also looking at our SE survey. So this is how, when we work with a student, we're able to look at that whole student, from testing data, from individualized instruction where they're ready to learn, that progress monitoring to quantify their development and growth, and those social and emotional aspects from the survey, from goal tracking, to take those goals and really push them, observations and badges as well. This is all great, but not only having a good program, but having information to help drive this, especially when we start looking at, we've looked at how we've eased the burden by automating a lot of this for teachers, but really we need to have great data coming in. So I'm going to go back to my Insights tab. I'm going to go look at my progress monitoring. Once again, a very hard process to quantify from a high level when we're doing a lot of paper or a lot of built up on their own. But when we have this in here, it is really easy for me to visualize where they're at, to see rates of improvement, how we're performing by different grade levels. Lots of great information that is in real time showing you what they need to do. And then this links right up to where my students are. So when we talk about fidelity of a program and making sure that we're getting the most out of it, the ability to say, you know what, participate, why are these low students here? Let me just click in on that. Oh, now it's going to identify who those students are and what I need to work on. Or if we want to move past even the progress monitoring and really drive into the effectiveness of something, we're going to look at user engagement and how easy this is to look at the engagement by students or by our staff, and to see who's using Classworks, when they're using it, to be able to break this up by weeks, by logins, and once again, see who is engaging with us. We use this so that you can proactively find your low-hanging fruit so that we can start addressing that with professional development. We can make sure that that they are on the same page as district leadership. This is how we help identify. One of the biggest ways we do this with our partner districts is for free. We meet with you once a month to go through this data, to help understand it, to help show you how to train to look for the things that you need that are going to impact your district the most. And we do that because we want you to have fantastic implementation. And once again, if you're an existing customer and you're like, oh man, what do you mean you'll meet with me for free and go over this? Take us up on it. Reach out to us. Call us. We would love to walk you through this. This is a really important factor. So an MTSS process is extremely difficult to make sure that it is effective, that it is addressing each student where they need to be, that we are able to build a systemic process, and we help deliver that by putting all of these tools in one area so that you can find it. So in one product, to have our universal screener, progress monitoring, we didn't even go into rigorous instruction to help, but have it all at your fingertips so that you can work and know that we can make an impact. This is how we drive that.